Welcome to Real Estate in Real Time. I'm Woody Zimmerman here with Mark Skibowski of Remax Lakes. Welcome to the show.
Here we are. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. All right, so we are thick in the holidays. I mean, we're smack dab in the middle. You know,
Middle of December. Holy moly!
You got Thanksgiving is in the past. Where Christmas is right around the corner.
Christmas is coming up, and I guess we. I did a little vacationing. I did some diving.
Yeah, lucky you. I'm jealous. The pictures of the beach and the water. Oh.
Yeah, and I no tan because I was underwater all the time.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah.
So there's no suntan, but we did a little diving in Roatan.
Mm-hmm.
Roatan, no tan. That's me because all we did is scuba dive, but. Figured this would be a good time to talk about statistics from January through the end of November.
Okay.
As we've discussed over the last couple of weeks, the seasonality is in force. We're typically slow down this time of year.
Yeah.
Good news is interest rates have settled down a little bit.
They have.
They're not as, they're not 8%.
No.
Around 7%. I've seen 6.75%. I really think as we do the year in review at some point, looking forward into 24, I think we're going to settle between 6 and 7%. But statistically, what's going on? And this data that we're talking about is just Kosciusko County.
Okay.
But because when you listen to national news, I mean, you watch, the nightly news or whatever, and real estate market is tanking and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, it's scary.
It scares folks. It really does. So locally, we're still in pretty good shape.
Well, I've always felt that like Warsaw has been in a bubble, okay? Like during the 2008-2009 crash where you got, even just up in Elkhart, you've got the RV industry crumbling, and Warsaw, we were not affected in the same way.
No, we didn't see 50% price reductions. We saw 25% price reductions, and we were a little bit slower, getting there than because we didn't have near the unemployment that Elkhart County had.
Yeah.
With the RVs, there was definitely unemployment. It was a bad time. But we did not see things fall off as bad as it did the rest of the country.
Yeah, point being is that real estate is local.
Absolutely. So, what we're trying to do is bring that local piece to it to get that information on. So statistically, what's going on? Well, good news is the active number of listings that are out there on the market are improving, and I'll put my glasses on because this is the on a statistics day. I do these charts. I try to have as much information as I can.
I get it.
So the active listing count in January of 23. Now this is excluding pending listings. So anything that's already got an accepted offer, we're talking about listings that are available for people to purchase.
Okay.
In January there was 76. In November, 130.
Oh,
almost double. I know I'm really rounding high, right?
But that's a big increase.
It's significant. So from 76 to 130 active listings. Because I can remember in 22 when we were saying, well, there's 42 listings available.
Sure, yeah.
52 listings. There was not much available and on the market for people.
Inventory's been a problem.
That is adding to the fact that there's not going to be a crash. If there's no inventory, there's still strong demand.
Correct.
Prices are not going to fall off the face of the earth.
Right.
Now, prices are beginning to come down. They are beginning to come down.
That's what everybody's been waiting on,
They are, but they're not massive reductions.
Okay.
So, number of homes with price reductions. So, in January of this year, there were 14 price adjustments.
Okay.
In January. If you remember, the start of the year, things were a little bit slow. It wasn't cranking. Things were still sitting there. We were just dealing with interest rates jumping up. People were like, standing on the sidelines going, what do I do? What do I do? Is it time to buy? Shouldn't I buy? I'm going to wait for interest rates to go back to 3%. Didn't happen.
You're going to wait a while.
People were still pricing higher, right? And they weren't adjusting. They were like, you know what? Because for the last couple of years, what have we dealt with? Put it on the market, whatever it is,
multiple
people will buy
offers.
it.
Yeah.
People will buy it. So April, there were 24 homes with price reductions.
Okay.
How about August? 60 homes with price reductions.
Yeah, wow.
Okay, and now we settled out in November, 54. So what does that mean? If you go from 14 homes where people put it on the market, typically in 22, 21, through the first half of 22, you list it, you were selling it at list price
Mm-hmm.
or over list price.
Yeah.
Very, very quickly. There was no adjustments for a seller, right? I mean, every seller wants to get the most they possibly can.
Right.
So they look at the comps, or in many cases they say, well, this is what I want. There's no method to their madness.
Yeah.
They just, this is the price we're going to put on the house. And in many cases they were selling. Well, and in January, nobody was adjusting.
Mm-hmm.
But now people are evaluating, why do I need to sell? You know, I want to sell my property. They're reducing the prices. So
there's also more inventory.
there is definitely beginning to be more inventory. That's the flip side of that
Yeah.
coin, right?
Yeah.
So before, you were the only game in town. You might have 10 people looking at one property.
Yeah.
Now there's 10 properties and maybe only 10 people looking. There's just a different mix.
More competition.
More competition, and that's where we've got to
Yeah.
pay attention to that. As an agent, having access to this kind of information
Mm-hmm.
is helpful, because when we're advising sellers,
Right.
we can tell them what the real market is.
Right.
And we've got to be strong enough to say, no, we think
Well,
this is where you need to be.
Yeah.
And still ultimately get your property sold. That's the whole intent.
Right. No, that makes sense. Okay, so more on this, and we're gonna break down the actual numbers for the market, or the market update. That's coming up here next. You're listening to Real Estate in Real Time. Welcome back. You're listening to Real Estate in Real Time. I'm Woody Zimmerman here with Mark Skibowski, and we're talking about, as we always do, like stats. You always like wrap up the month in stats and so forth. You brought a wealth of information. You brought a wealth of it, but and everything leads to the same story that you've been talking about for a long time now.
It's been a while, and we were talking in general. So let's break these statistics down by zip code.
Okay.
All right. So and this is another set of data, a couple of different terms, but and this is year over year. So, and this is January through the end of November. So for the county, the overall number of homes sold is down 10% year over year. So between 22 and 23.
Mm-hmm.
The volume sold is down 9% year over year.
Okay.
The average sales price for the county is up 1%. We're going to get into those details here in a minute, the why behind that.
Yeah.
And the number of active listings on the market is actually down 4%.
Okay.
So there were a few more listings in 22 than there were in 23 in general.
Okay.
In general. So 46580, Warsaw proper. 22 versus 23, down 19% as far as the number of homes sold. The volume sold, down 13%. The average sales price up 8%. So for the buyer in Warsaw that's saying, well, I'm going to wait for prices to fall, the average sales price actually year over year went up 8%.
Yeah.
In Warsaw, 46580.
Well, we talked about overall, it being probably around 4 or 5%.
Right.
Getting back to
to more normal.
Okay.
More normal. The median sales price up 13%. Okay. Median sales price up 13%.
Okay.
And the number of active listings, again, this is year over year, so the numbers are a little bit skewed, but they're down 13%. So fewer homes for sale, higher average sales price.
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah.
46567, which is Syracuse.
Yep.
Number sold down 8%. Volume sold down 16%.
Mm-hmm.
The average sales price down 9%. So notice when we talked about the county being only up 1%.
Yeah.
46567, Syracuse, what is that primarily when we're looking at that?
Lakes.
The lake market.
Yeah, it's a lake market.
Right? So the lake market is adjusting. It's changing.
It's a more expensive market.
It is a more expensive market, and when people are concerned, they're not as likely to spend that disposable income on a second home, on a lake home, right?
Yeah.
They're worried about, hey, what have I got going on over here? We had inflation worries, right? Prices of everything's going up. They don't want to overpay buying a lake home.
No.
So they'll pull back and not buy the lake home and do whatever they do. So the lake market is going to be impacted, I think, a little bit more. The more high-end lake market.
Yeah.
The high-end lake market. 46562, Pearston.
Okay.
This takes in a lot of the Barbie chain. So this is the more affordable lake homes.
Yep.
The number sold down 8%. It's not huge, only four homes different.
Okay.
The volume sold actually up 11%. The average sales price in that market up 21%. So the high-end lake homes, the numbers have dropped.
Yeah.
The more affordable lake properties, second homes,
Yeah.
actually prices went up.
That's where people are putting their money.
That's where people are starting to do it, which is going back to a more normal time.
Okay.
Back in the day, right, and this is that gray hair coming out.
Yeah.
But the Barbie chain was where, the average Joe could afford a lake home on the Barbie chain. You know what I mean? The average individual, and I'm not talking somebody who's, scraping by, but somebody who's got disposable income could buy a lake home on the Barbie chain. They're more affordable. I think this mirrors that. That shows it.
Yeah.
46538, which has got a lot of Tippy in it, Lake Tippecanoe, all of that in there. The volume sold down 6%. The average sales price down 17%. The two higher end lake home markets, prices have dropped significantly. So hopefully people who are thinking about selling in those, they're still selling, but you're not going to get what you once would.
Yeah, put that into consideration.
Absolutely. That's where that's at. So 46582, that's north side of Warsaw, volume sold only down 1%, price is up 4%. More normal. 46582, more normal. So what does all this mean? Overall, for the county, the average days on market has bumped up. Overall.
Okay.
So all listings in the county, the average days on market is around 60 days.
That's almost double of what
That's
it was.
almost double of what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. The median is about 55 days. So the median's more indicative, but a standard 3-bedroom home, average days on market, 61 days. The average list price, $307,000. That's the average. Now that takes into lakes, all of that stuff. So the last thing I want to talk about is the average 3-bedroom home in the county. Now these are sold. The average list price of what sold for a 3-bedroom was $280,000. The average sold price was $276,000. 1.5% off a list price.
Yeah.
Okay. The average is about 2% off of list price. So if something's listed for $100, it's selling for $98.
Yeah.
Which wasn't too long ago. That average was 100%, right? I mean, things were selling what they were listed for.
Yes, correct.
So tying all this together, this whole show,
Yeah.
the number of listings is coming up. The number of listings with price reductions is increasing.
Yeah.
So you're going to see that list to sale price begin to slow down, get to 2.5-3% off a list price.
More
normal market. We're on our way.
All right. Wow. All right. Your contact information?
Sure. Our website, skibowskiteam.com. Phone numbers 574-527-0660. Can always reach out. Mark at skibowskiteam.com.
Okay. Great info. A lot of great info. If you want to continue the conversation, make sure you reach out to Mark. You've been listening to Real Estate in Real Time. Have yourself a wonderful weekend.